right, a very good morning to you. Waking up to Western Television. It's a great pleasure starting off your day with us, with me, Faresh Majid. And this is the Kokoliriko live morning updates. And this is where I will be in place to let you know of what happens and maybe what happened in the due course of the week, also yesterday. And this is where we give you updates and insights to some of those trending stories on the various media platforms and maybe on the different forums also. And this is where exactly that happens. And it is always very good for you to start off your day with us, because this is definitely going to have an impact on you, since it's going to keep you informed. And really, I must welcome you on board from wherever you are watching us from. And for those of you watching us within West Nile, I want to say thank you so much. For those of you watching us within, that is still Northern Uganda, in parts of, that is Lango and Acholi, I also do very much appreciate you, and not forgetting those in the other parts of the world. I do have people watching us all day from Bunyoro, those in Buganda. I also want to say thank you so much, and not forgetting those in the other parts of East Africa and Africa at large and the other parts of the world. I must say I also do very much appreciate you, not forgetting my colleagues that those are watching us all the way in the Middle East, parts of Saudi Arabia, parts of Dubai. I also want to say it's a great pleasure always having you on board, and really to be part of the show, it's quite simple. You can really just drop your comments on the various that is comment sections on the various media platforms where you access us from. Remember, West Nile Television is actually one television that you can access in any part of the world at any time, and this is definitely the advantage that we are talking about, really, in terms of that is technological advancement. Remember, you can really watch us anytime and in any parts of the world, and that definitely is one reason you should always watch West Nile Television. But starting off the discussions from Arua City, I must say really there was quite some sad incident in our neighborhood just within Anyafio, where actually West Nile Television is located just in the neighborhood, where fire did attack one of the stores within our neighborhood. This is for Corporate Security Services Limited, where property worth millions are believed to be destroyed. And this is where I must say it's quite sad, because what really happens to your neighbor is what happens to you, because your neighbor's pain is similarly also your pain too. And really, this store, according to information that we received, was actually caused, the fire was caused by one of the guards that was really burning, that is rubbish around the container, and really maybe also did forget to switch that thing off. And after some few hours, the people saw smoke really coming out of the container, and when they tried to put off the power, it was really late, because the container had so many properties, and it is believed to be for the landlord of where the security company is actually renting from. And I must say what happened there was quite nasty, because these things that in the store, most of them actually got burnt, leaving only those that are metallic. I do not know what was really what we are kept in that container, but I must tell you, so many things were being kept in that container from what we looked. And the police brigade did came in and to try to switch off the power before it really also did spread to the other parts and the other buildings. I really want to appreciate and also really thank, that is, the Uganda police, for coming to ensure that this fire does not spread. Otherwise, we could see it spreading to the neighborhood, and maybe it could also move to other parts, which would be very bad. And really, I must say, the building where the building next to where the store was, it was saved, and this container where things were actually burnt is the only one that that got burnt and destroyed. I must say that is where really it is quite sad, and really we are still mourning with these people, because really no life was lost, but really we cry, because your neighbor's cry is your pain, and really I must say it is yours too, because if something bad is happening to your neighbor, usually we say love your neighbor as you love yourself, and that definitely also must be an indication to you that if something is happening to your neighbor, and then definitely that is also happening to you. And that is why I must say we need to always check on our neighbors. We need to be together, and really that is why I must say properties were lost, but no life was lost. That is something that we must very much appreciate. And really I want to thank, that is, the fire department of police, led by, that is, Afande Mungwachel, and really for ensuring that they come timely to really ensure that this fire does not really move to the other places and the other buildings, so that the buildings are also saved. And that is where really where we had a discussion, where we started discussions from, and really moving away from that now. So many things are happening. Let's move now to a fake witch doctor that was arrested for conning SACCO members of shillings 20 million And really, this is quite sad. Really, I don't know what's wrong with human beings today. Is it that people do not believe in God, and why are witch doctors really coming very often? And really, and if you look at some of these areas, more so where this is happening in the Lusab region, I must say I don't know how many witch doctors are coming that side, but I do understand that most of them actually find their ways, that is from the neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo. In most cases, that is where we usually say they come from. But these people really, I don't know why they must be really terrorizing society that much, because their impacts have been so much. Because really, we have seen cases of murder at times being attributed to the witch doctors, who come really and really also give wrong advice. And the witch doctors really have, these native doctors have really had that negative impact on society than their positives, I believe, because really, you see these witch doctors in most cases lie to these people, and people believe in them. I don't know why, but people really believe in them, and their numbers keep on increasing. And recently we did have, that is the association of the herbalists, really even moving to Arua City here, and really to ensure that all their members are licensed. And this is where we had the question of the difference between these herbalists and the witch doctors. What do they do? Because all the witch doctors, if you go to them, none of them will actually tell you that he is a witch doctor. They will always tell you that he is a native doctor, or maybe he's a herbalist. And really, where is the difference now? Because these people really continue terrorizing society. Their numbers keep on shooting up each and every day, and really we want to understand maybe what is wrong with society, because the society today, I think, very much believes in that is the witch doctors, and so many the different religions have actually warned people against these witch doctors. If you move to Islamic faith, it is one religion that actually condemns, that is the existence and maybe attaching God to these witch doctors, because that is what they call shirk. Even the Bible is against it, but really people still very much do not want to listen. I don't know why, but really I think it is time maybe if government can come out and regulate the activities of these witch doctors and ensure that there's a tough punishment for them, because they are really doing more disservice than what they are supposed to do. So I think there's need for government really to ensure that these people are brought to book. And now a witch doctor or traditional hill herbalist that is operating in Nebi district have been strongly condemned against causing death, disunity, and crimes within the community. And this is where I must say their activities are very, very much bad. So I think it is time if these witch doctors, and this is in Nebi where it conned the circle members of 20 million, and that is why I must say it is usually not good, because these witch doctors really are very, very bad. And this one identified as Emmanuel Amango, a 46-year-old resident of, that is, from Soroti district, is one that conned these circle members. But I must say it is something that is very bad, and this incident happened, that is in Padot and Parombo. I must say this is something where people need to really desist from, because 20 million shillings, if you invested it in and really do not go into witch doctor whom you know is really going to take your money like that, because these witch doctors, most of them are quacks. These are actual liars. I must tell you the same scenario happened this year, and this was in Arua district, where a witch doctor believed to have been from Congo locked one of the believers in the church, and really told the church that the bad things are waiting for him outside. And after conning about 1 million from this person, and really this victim that was told to remain in the church remained there, and everything was really, he was tied up in the church, which was something I must say was quite very, very inhuman. And he had to ensure that people were there to do his work in terms of really, because you cannot remain in church. How are you going to eat food? How are you going to put off the remains that you have in your body? So I think this was something that was quite good, where he had to ease himself on container. People had to ensure that they take things out, because the witch doctor had told him not to move out. Really, I don't know why these things are coming out. Even we have fake pastors, really, who really... This is something I must also really say, people need to really go back to the drawing board and really have to ensure that they abide by the traditional, maybe the religions that we are there. So that issues of witch doctors or fake pastors does not really continue, because this is something that we are seeing now. It is quite becoming often, and where people are being conned of their monies. It is really something that I must say does not make us happy, and it is happening mostly in West Nile. I don't know why, because West Nile maybe has fertile grounds for these people, because all these witch doctors, if you are to move in them, there are quite many in all the villages. In most of the villages, you see these white people call themselves herbalists, but in most cases, who also do the works of witch doctors, because a herbalist, I believe, is just supposed to give you herbal medicine, but in most cases, a herbalist will tell you, even when they are running the adverts, we have had the adverts on various radios, we have heard them, we have seen them, they even run adverts of which you start doubting if this really is a herbalist, because a herbalist, you wonder, somebody tells you, I'm going to bring back your lost lover, I'm going to make you do this, I'm going to make you get this. This is the works of herbalists. That is where I think the leaders need to come out and clearly condemn such instances. And I think this mandate should be given to the security operatives by the RCCs and the DPCs to ensure that these issues are addressed, because these are people who are taking advantage of the locals, and the locals really continue to suffer, because in most cases the locals, to whom, in most cases, this is what got them, I must say, are very much desperate for something, and that is why they really want to achieve that thing so fast, and that is why they actually find themselves being robbed. And Robert Abak, the Navy District Resident District Commissioner, said witch doctors should refrain from weird acts that promote and really create insecurities in the district, which is really, I must say, now how can they desist, because their operations are very much in line with these negative things we're talking about. And really, how do we ensure that we kick witch doctors out? And really, you also, the view also, how do you think that we can actually control the operations of these witch doctors, who call themselves in most cases the traditional herbalists? Because none of them, I must say, is going to admit that he is a witch doctor. They will always tell you, I'm a traditional herbalist. None of them have actually had any of these already identifying themselves as witch doctors. In most cases, they will tell you they are traditional herbalists, because that is where they defend themselves. I don't know why, but I think it is time that if government really address these issues of people taking advantage of the others, more so these witch doctors, then that will be a plus for them, because people continue losing a lot of monies, because in most cases, they have something that, as I said earlier on, they are desperate for something. Somebody may be needing a lover. That is why they say when they advertise things that are mostly within people's reach. And this is where people want. These are the things that people want, because they will tell you, we are going to give you a job. We are going to find employment for you. We are going to find you a lover. We are going to bring back the last lover. We are going to bring back the property which you lost. And this is where sometimes they take advantage of people, because that area they're advertising is maybe one through which somebody is going through. And definitely, if they advertise that, then somebody will want to really fall in love and with what they are saying. And, and at the end of the day, it is them that get caught. So I think there's need for the works of these witch doctors to be regulated. And if they are really kicked out, I feel maybe that will really ensure that it brings harmony. Because in the villages, really, if you move, so many things many people are now going to these witch doctors. In most of the villages I've been to, this is where these witch doctors are. You will see people accusing one another, and this is causing disunity. In terms of deaths, this is where you see wrangles, houses being burnt, and really people killing each other. And all these are the negative repercussions being caused by these witch doctors. So I think there's need for these witch doctors to be kicked out, and that is my own opinion. And I feel that will maybe really ensure that people live happily once together. So I think that will really also address challenges of people really taking advantage of the rest. And that is where I must say, it is not good, because for people to continue taking advantage of the rest, then that definitely tells us that it is very, very bad. Because if that is not the case, then people will continue losing a lot of monies in terms of these witch doctors who really take advantage, because they maneuver as herbalists. And at the end of the day, what they do is really causing a lot of challenges. And I must say that is quite bad. And that definitely should actually be a warning to those who are trying to go into these witch doctors. And I must tell you, really, that is something that we need to really ensure that we move away from, because witch doctors, God actually cast us against them. God warned us against them, and really God told us not to get closer to them. And really, if you are getting closer to them, then definitely I must say that is an indication that it should be, you need to move away from it, because that definitely must be an indication to you that the witch doctors are not there, because at the end of the day, their negative repercussions will cost you, because it is you to lose the money. And yesterday, I must tell you, people were charging, that is for a road district land board, to really ensure that they receive some titles. But I must tell you, the RSC and the mayor moved to the district council, and we had a walk back to Kao's office, where people were really moving here and there, pulling ropes. But at the end of the day, this meeting was postponed, and Kao was forced to postpone this meeting because of lack of proper venue, because most of the venues actually we are really occupied. But that goes back to the organization bit. How are you organizing your meetings? And that is definitely something that I must say we need to ensure that we move away from, because now the meeting, people are anticipating they wanted to really see what would happen in terms of getting the land titles, because here we were told they were going to actually hand over some land titles, and that didn't take place. And really this also wasn't good, because people were really waiting, and now the district moved the motion that is really to ensure that they pushed the meeting to the later date, and we do not know when now they will be able to really hand over these land titles. But we are following up on until when the last date will be communicated, and because this is where we need to understand issues of land, because land is something that is really prestigious and has been also causing a lot of problems, and if this is not addressed, then definitely we shall be able to find many problems, because land issues, land-related conflicts, you know them. These are actually sometimes between even not individuals. We have seen them actually extending, and this is where people need to ensure that they move away from these issues. And we are following up on that discussion. We shall be able to let you know when these land titles will actually be handed over, and that definitely is something that you need to follow on, because if they really announce that date, then definitely we shall be able to sort of come here and tell you what is going to transpire and really how many land titles are going to be given out. And that definitely really is something that I must tell you we need to follow up. And now a mid-aged gentleman has been placed under, that is, police custody after allegedly being caught in stealing chicken, that is in Manyuara village, Pekele sub-county, Najuman district. And Igama Patrick, a 19-year-old resident of Manyuara village, Pekele town council, Najuman district, was really allegedly arrested for stealing chicken of neighbors. Really, youth, sometimes, what do you really want? Because you are being caught stealing chicken. This is something that is quite ironic, because I do understand that even this thing is happening in Arua. If you move around, you find people carrying bags, and in most cases, these boys who carry bags, women will always tell you that they are looking for opportunities. And which opportunities are we talking about here? They are looking for opportunities to really grab people's chicken, which is moving. And they really, if you're not keen enough, you would find them really running after your chicken, which is really quite bad. But instead of going to work, really, as a 19-year-old boy, you have a lot of energy. You could actually do so many things. And we're in the dry season. People are laying bricks, and now you are just engaging in theft. Then definitely that is something really very bad. So I think there's need for people to desist from theft, and more so the youth. And there's also need for youth empowerment. We are talking about empowerment of the youth, but I think one issue where they are lying back in terms of criminality is that they have not been empowered enough. And really, that is something that maybe if these people were empowered, maybe if they were given the necessary skills, and they were told maybe of where to earn monies from, because right now these boys are the ones that are involved in substance abuse. Look at the issues of drug abuse, more so Mairungi and opium smoking. These are mostly done by the youth, and they are the ones mostly among the teenagers. I don't know why, but I must tell you, these cases are becoming quite often, and really there's need for intervention. And I think intervening will really address these challenges and see to it that cases of such small cases of theft really addressed, because you as a 19-year-old boy, you are caught really stealing chicken. What if you are killed for that chicken? Because we have seen people being killed for even things less than that, for small phones, where we did witness a youth this year being murdered after attempting to steal a small button phone. And really this is something I must say youths need to really desist from, because theft is very much among them, but really there's need for empowerment of the youth, because if that is done, then definitely they will be able to sort of desist from such cases. And that is where I must say, as youths, we need to really embrace these government projects that are in place. The PDM is around. Why don't we really engage the community leaders and tell them that we are vulnerable, because this is where this is why the PDM actually came. It is to empower the vulnerable community members, and that is why I must say there's need for the youth and the young people to really get involved in these government projects. We have so many that really came in place. The youth livelihood was in place. I think most of the youth actually did not really know about that project, and most of them, that is why a majority of them did not actually benefit from it. But now the PDM, which is really very much talked about, even a woman in the village will be able to tell you and explain to you what the PDM is all about, because the information given to these people by maybe the different stakeholders has been enough. Because if you really look at the banks, mostly it is the women, and that is why I must tell you the information connected to PDM are really there, and if the youth really want to benefit from it, then they would actually get engaged with the various stakeholders and get the information, rather than just continue stealing chicken. And really, this is not where we're talking about, because if you look at even what is happening in the other rest of the districts, come to Terego, come to Madiokolo, youths are being engaged in stealing animals, not only chicken, goats. People's cows are getting lost, and this is where we are saying there's need for them to desist from criminality. Theft is never a solution, but rather they have to get engaged in that is an active production, and that will actually really ensure that they benefit from these projects that are coming in place. And the government projects such as PDM and the MIOGA that are still in place, then the youths needed to tap into that, because that at the end of the day will be able to really empower them financially, and really also ensure that they become they become on their own, and that would also really ensure that they at the end of the day do not really get engaged in certain activities which to me may have devastating impacts on their life. Because if you are caught really stealing chicken, then the community may not be able to spare you because they will not want to know who exactly you are. Then definitely that may be at the end of the day will also have negative repercussions towards your life. So I think there's need for the youth to desist from certain activities that would really also ensure that their lives are put at danger, and that at the end of the day also really is going to drastically improve and empower them. So I think there's need for these youths who are really involved in criminality such as theft, for them to really ensure that they start questioning their leaders. Also get closer to your leaders, starting right from the LC ones. Ask them about the government projects that are in place. Ask them about PDM. They will be able to really give you information in terms of PDM, in terms of Myoga, that which to me at the end of the day would also really help you stand on your own. That is in terms of financial stability. So I think if we really get knowledge in terms of these government projects, if we really get interested in skilling, which to me is the way to go, because as the youth really sometimes we go through a lot, such as issues of unemployment, which is quite hard amongst us, cases of drug abuse, which is really also so high among the youth, then definitely that will really also really have its negative repercussions. So I think with that, we are going to be running for a short commercial break, the first one for this hour. And I must say it's a great pleasure having you still watching us. And I don't know where you're watching us from, but you can really let us know of what you think in the discussions and how we can actually help the society, because the discussions we hold here are for the betterment of the society. And remember, West Nile TV's #1 mandate is actually to enlighten the region, and really an enlightened region is one that is empowered, and that definitely should be the reason as to why we must always watch West Nile television and participate here and there, because the development of this region entirely lies into our hands. So I think that is why we need to ensure that we support one another, and really your comment may actually be one that may change somebody's life. But really with that, let's first run for a short commercial break, and when we return back, we shall be able to pick up with the conversation from there. Thank you.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
AFCON, all 52 games live only on Star Times. Star Times brings you Africa's biggest football tournament, AFCON 2023, live in English and Luganda commentary. Starting January 13, don't miss Mo Salah, Sadio Mane or Nana. Lead the hunt for gold as they take center stage. Renew your Star Times subscription today and enjoy all 52 matches in HD live on Sports Premium and Sanyuka Prime. Star Times, the official broadcaster of AFCON 2023. This message is powered by Techno, the official sponsor of AFCON 2023.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back from that short commercial break. We are still continuing with the Kokoliriko Morning Updates show on West Nile TV with me, Faresh Majid, and this is the first show definitely to which you must always start off your day, because it is going to leave you that informed, because this is where we also let you know of maybe what is happening and where you can also really participate through and really share with us on how we can actually help the society, and really where we did discuss this on having on youths how they can really desist from criminality, because if you have to really look at theft, which is really quite shameful, where we did witness a youth that is in Germany who was caught stealing chicken. And really we have seen people losing their lives in terms of small things, but smaller than chicken. And really if you die as a chicken thief, then definitely that is something that is also embarrassing to your family and everybody that is really connected to you. So I think there's need for people to do that. And to that effect, somebody all the way called Odakaranking Defier really says it is very shameful, but is requesting them to concentrate on farming. And really if the youth could actually get engaged in farming, then definitely to him that would really ensure that they move away from the criminality that we are talking about, and then that at the end of the day also will help, that is the locals, in terms of also ensuring that their properties are safe, because some of these youth who are engaged in criminality do not really want to work. It is because that they do not want to work, but rather do want just depend like that. If you move to the trading centers, sometimes I have a feeling some do not really want to be there because they want, but they find themselves staying that way. But others are doing it intentionally because they feel maybe they are giving up, because really somebody wakes up in the morning to just go and stay in the trading centers, which is quite shocking, and waiting to ask for something small. Then definitely that is something that as youths we need to desist from, because we need to work as youth in our youthful stages. This is where we have the energy and really build on our elderhood. That this is where we have the energy which will help us build in for our elderly times. So I think as youths, this is where we need to really work and do anything that at the end of the day would actually generate for us money, rather than just being there sitting idle in the trading centers, maybe in the other various places, which may not actually really also be quite good there. So I think there's need for the youths really to ensure that they desist from drug abuse, which is really contributing sometimes this laziness, because I do understand really once I tried interacting with them, most of these people really who abuse the drugs, they told me sometimes these drugs actually limit them from working, but sometimes also they use it for working, which is really quite bad. So I think there's need for the youths to ensure that they move away from the cases of drug abuse. That to me, at the end of the day, will also really ensure that they move away from the cases of these scenarios such as theft, and then other scenarios which may have bad impacts on them. So I think there's need for these youths really to ensure they leave cases of drug abuse, they leave cases of laziness, they leave cases of wanting to stay idle, and that at the end of the day would also really ensure that they benefit from maybe the government projects in place. And really moving on from that, we also did talk about the witch doctors. And ATK Richard says he can't remember one time when Arua City, through the leadership of, that is the mayor, His Worship Muzaid Kemis, embarked on a move of really evicting the local witch doctors out of the city, and which was something that I must say was quite good. But really the scenarios that we saw during the eviction process is something that I also did say was very shameful, because people whom we did not know could actually be part of these witch doctors were the ones that we did see also participating in this bad activity, which is really evil and really cast by God. And we did see women who were actually the majority of the perpetrators, and really this was something I must say also did really scare us, because people of this region, we were able to see how women are actually engaged in cases of witch doctors, and really it was something that which was really quite good. And really we also had rumors that these witch doctors were actually sometimes sleeping with people's women, and this is where it is very shocking. It is very alarming, because witch doctors really, to me, I don't believe in them, because I know most of them are quacks. I really do not believe in witch doctors, and I don't think if I will ever even believe in them, because witch doctors really have their negative impacts on the society, which to me sometimes may not be good, and really in most cases the impacts are also very negative, where we do witness people losing their lives, where we do witness people losing property, where they rob people. Really, this is robbery, broad day robbery, because they convince you that we are going to give you a job, we are going to fight for your lover, we are going to bring back your lover. This is by women, really. Women are the ones that really, in most cases, are very, very much involved in the witch doctors, because the pictures that we did so during that period were actually young women and ladies who were actually going to these things, these witch doctors, because of men, and they were there to attract the men to really come and love them. And this is what we had, that they were really blowing some pipes, which I did not know because I've never seen any of them, and I did not even know how the things that look like, but these are the stories that we are there. But I must say it is quite bad. So I think there's need for community members, and this is what Etike is saying, that there's need for community and security operatives to work together in terms of ensuring that these people are evicted out of, that is, West Nile sub-region, in terms of really avoiding their negative impacts. And that to him maybe would actually really impact greatly in terms of saving the community from these losses. So I think there's need for people to really ensure that they move away from such scenarios, which to me may not be good. So I think there's need really for these people to ensure that they move away from such cases, because at the end of the day, they are really stealing, and that's what they call broad day robbery, which to me is really very, very bad. So I think with that, really, let's put it closer to the discussions in relation to, that is, the witch doctors and theft, because this is where I've really talked very much about them. But this is because they have really, these two things have been costing the society. If you move to Alur sub-region, most of the unknown deaths have been attributed to witch doctors. And really, when somebody dies abruptly like that, in most cases, there's somebody who is pinned. And this is where they say it is as a result of witchcraft. And witchcraft comes from the witch doctors. So I think there's need for the security operatives to really work together in terms of evicting these people out of the region, in terms of kicking them out. And that, at the end of the day, maybe we'll be able to so really ensure that these negative activities on the society is limited. Because if the cases are not really minimized, then definitely cases of people really continuing to commit these crimes will continue, theft will continue. Cases of people really ensuring that they do sacrifices, because sometimes these witch doctors also ask for sacrifices, where we do witness young people being killed just like that. Really, it is quite bad, because you are looking for something that, but then somebody is asking for all these things, and you do not ask yourself, then definitely that is quite bad. And now moving away from that to health. Men above 40 years are to undergo mandatory prostate cancer screening, and this is information from the Minister of Health, Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng, who has indicated that there are plans to make screening for prostate cancer for all men aged above 45 years compulsory. This is why it's coming, because really we are witnessing these cases of prostate cancer becoming quite common, where we do lose lives, because sometimes the screening is very much late, because at the end of the day, somebody goes for these screenings maybe when the disease has actually moved, and that definitely also is very much bad, because in most cases actually the society does not know what to do. Somebody may be going through health. Reproductive health, by the way, I must tell you, is one that is really lacking, because most people do not know where to access these services from, and this is not only the men. And now Ministry of Health, through the Minister, Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng, is saying that they need to really ensure that there is need for mandatory prostate cancer screening. And the Minister made these remarks on Thursday, 1st of February, addressing participants at the second Africa Test and Treat Initiative Conference against Cancer and Non-Communicable Diseases at Imperial Royal Hotel in Kampala. And the conference was aimed at enhancing awareness, early detection and diagnosis for quality prevention and control. And why am I saying this? Because sometimes these diseases really, people contract them, but when it is too late for them to be treated. So I think that is where it is quite good, and we must welcome this. And in her remarks, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, Dr. Diana Twin, observed the need to strengthen community health services, where health workers really need to be empowered. So I think that is where it is quite good. And she also called for investment to help in the early detection of NCDs at lower health facilities. If you look at most of our health facilities, because if you look at our community members, most of them are the ones that are quite vulnerable, and they do not have the monies really to ensure that they get a treatment, and that is why it is becoming very much difficult for them to really access some of these medical facilities. If you have to look at cancer, usually people now have that stereotype, this is a disease not for the poor. But we have seen it also killing the poor, because it is a disease that does not spare. And some people actually say it is more dangerous now than the other bad diseases that we knew of. So I think there's need for really cancer screening to be upgraded, which to me would also really address challenges of people dying from such diseases. Look at really prostate cancer among men. This is where so many lives are being lost among men, and also cervical cancer among women, plus breast cancer, where women are also losing their lives on really on high numbers. So I think there's need for really society to be empowered, and really also government, if government is to upgrade maybe the services of these are the health facilities up to the lower maybe health facilities, and then definitely that would also really improve and reduce on the numbers of people dying to these diseases, because really each and every year we are reporting cases of people succumbing to these diseases. But really, to me, which also needs now intervention of the government, and that is where I must say it is quite good. We must welcome this and really hope that this does not really remain on plans, but it must be implemented, and that way maybe at the end of the day will also really ensure that there's reduction maybe in terms of these cancer cases. And now a recent study conducted on infection-related and lifestyle-related cancer burden in Kampala, a projection of the future cancer audience up to 2030 predicted that cervical cancer evidence was projected to increase by 35.3%, breast cancer by 57.7%, and prostate cancer by 33.4% respectively. So I think this is where we are seeing these numbers. If I look at all these numbers, these are quite huge, and that definitely should be also a point of worry to you who is watching. And how often do you really go for these tests is the question really that we must be asking ourselves. And really, where do you access these services from is also another question that we must be asking ourselves, because we may be talking about really going for these tests, but do we have the necessary personnel to do that for us in terms of helping us really get these services, maybe in terms of testing, and how empowered our health facilities. Look at most of our health facilities, more so in the villages. I want to talk about the rural settings. These health center trees, do they have really this personnel? Because in most cases they would be able to, they are operating maybe on minimal numbers of, that is, medical personnel. Are these medical personnel qualified to really give these services out? And that is another question that really we need to really ask ourselves of. Now, the age standardized evidence rates of cervical cancer and breast we are projected to increase, that is to up to 66.1 and 48.4 per 100 women, and the ASR of prostate cancer was estimated to increase, that is from 41.6 to 60.5 per men. These changes were due to changes in the factors and population growth. So I think there's really a lot that people need to ensure that they protect themselves from, because this disease has really continued claiming heavy lives each and every year. So I think we are really losing a lot of men, more so men who are above 45 years, who are at more risk of contracting the disease. And that is why we need to also ensure that medical personnel also really come out to explain such issues of these diseases. I think it is very much important for them to always really come out and explain, because sometimes we are talking about prostate cancer, but the village, that ordinary person in the village does not actually know about this disease, and he's hearing it for the first time. But the next time maybe he gets to know about it is when he has actually contracted the disease. So I think there's need for people to really get information about this disease. And if you remember, studies last year also showed that Uganda registered over 34,000 new cases according to the Global CAN 2020. Worth noting, the same report reveals that about 23,000 people succumb to cancer, that is every year. If you really look at 23,000, then this is quite a huge number where really so many lives are being lost, which to me also is quite good. It's not quite good, because if people are losing lives, then definitely that is something also really we need to ensure that we talk about, because really cancer continues to claim lives. We are talking about so many dignitaries who lose their lives to cancer each and every year, and really sometimes they are being rushed out, but really they do not actually get the treatment. And now what does that mean? I think there is need for government to really empower our medical facilities here. Really empowering the medical facilities here would also really ensure that the services become very much improved, because if the services are improved, then definitely cases of these deaths, cases of these referrals will be reduced. And then at the end of the day, people really get that is safe in terms of really ensuring that this disease that is claiming lives each and every year are avoided. Because really, if you look at these numbers, 34,000, this is quite huge. And that means that each and every day there is somebody who is dying to these diseases. And really that is why we must really also ensure that we desist from that case. And really moving out from that, 36 districts have been affected by foot and mouth disease. This is information from Tumwebaze Frank, and really the minister told Parliament on Thursday, that is February 1st, that his ministry is seeking support for the supplementary budget to produce another 10 million doses to cover all the affected and high-risk areas. And the total of 36 districts which have been really confirmed to have the disease include, this is Budaka, Bukedia, Bukoma, Simbu, Bunyabungo, Butaleja, Fort Poto, Gomba and Ibanda, among others. Really, this is where I must say these western parts are now being affected by the disease. If I look at 36 districts, most of these actually are the ones that supply the whole country, and that is why people need to ensure that the meat they consume is not that one that is infected, and definitely that would also really ensure that these cases are really protected, because if they do not really ensure that they protect themselves from eating this raw meat, then the raw meat is the one that is at risk in terms of really ensuring that the disease actually goes out of hand. Because if you consume that raw disease that is infected, and definitely that is where people will be able to get the disease. And this is why people consume meat, because really if you're a vegetarian, then you are safe from the disease. But if you are somebody that consumes meat, and really people love meat, and in most cases people say a party that is without meat is not a party, it's not complete. But I must tell you, you must be worried of the meat that you are going to consume next, because it may be the one that actually resulted from an animal that died of maybe the foot and mouth disease, because some people do not want to really carry on losses, but really that would also really be very bad. Now, according to Dr. Abed Bwanika, the Kimanya Kabunera, who is a trained veterinarian with 2 real accounts, said that there is need for these organizations to really come out and really ensure that they protect this disease. So I think that will also really ensure that the safety of the people in terms of the animals that they consume, because really that is something I must say we need to ensure that we talk about, because the foot and mouth disease is one that is contagious. Because now, to me, this calls for, that is, a lockdown within those areas. Now, quarantine will actually work, because this is where we are seeing already some of the areas have been quarantined, and that definitely is one indication that these animals are not safe for human consumption, and that disease actually needs to be controlled. And now the vaccines, which the Ministry of Agriculture is fighting for, need actually, if the Parliament approves that, then there's need for them to purchase these doses, and now the animals need to ensure that they get vaccinated, because if the animals also die because of this disease, then definitely prices in meat, which to me is at the moment quite still very much high, because if you look at the price of meat per kilo, usually within the festive season it was around 16,000, 16 years, around there, which to me is quite huge, because how many people will actually afford to buy a kilo of meat? And that is why most families nowadays eat these things, eat meat at the funerals, they eat that maybe at weddings, maybe at other parties, and that is why they get access to eat meat from, because meat has become quite expensive. If you really look at 16,000, then with these issues of this disease that is emerging, then definitely that would also really ensure that there's an increase in prices, which may also not be good. And at the end of the day, it is that ordinary person who may be able to suffer from the negative repercussions of this disease. So I think there's need for the people to really ensure that the meat they eat maybe also needs to be first that is dried up, because really dried up meat reduces chances of people contracting the disease. And then that at the end of the day really is one thing that I must say we need to work towards. And really with that, we are going to be running for a short commercial break. But in a special way, I want to thank whoever is watching us from wherever you're watching us from. I want to say thank you so much. And you should always watch West Nile Television, because this is the first show of the television that definitely is there to also really start off your day from an informed point of view. Because if you start off your day as an informed person of what is really of you who is knowing around what is happening around the world, then definitely you will be able to sort of fit the society at all levels. So that really should be the point for you to always watch West Nile Television each and every morning from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. with me, Farish Majid. And today we are expecting guests as we are going to be discussing issues of, that is, refugee management and crisis. So I think we need to really talk about this, because we are living with them. And I remember at one time we were refugees in these 2 countries of DRC and South Sudan while growing up. These are the stories. If you had the chance of really being with your grandparents, and this is to the youth, then definitely one story that they would not really exclude out is the stories of life during exile. And really they would actually tell you of how difficult maybe life was in DRC, or life definitely how it was also difficult in South Sudan. And that definitely tells us that we need to work with the refugees together, because they are here and definitely they're not leaving anytime soon. And this is information, this is according to information that we also really seeing from the various stakeholders who are assessing of maybe how the refugees will be able to return back. And this is to the people who really do not want to work with the refugees, who look at them as enemies. But I must tell you that these are our brothers, but with whom we have to work together. So really we're expecting guests anytime soon with whom we are going to be expounding more on this discussion. But for now, let me first run in for a short commercial break. And when we return back, we look forward to having that discussion. Thank you.
Nile TV, lighting up the region.
AFCON, all 52 games live only on StarTimes. StarTimes brings you Africa's biggest football tournament, AFCON 2023 live in English and Luganda commentary. Starting January 13, don't miss Mo Salah, Sadio Mane or Nana. Lead the hunt for gold as they take center stage. Renew your StarTimes subscription today and enjoy all 52 matches in HD live on Sports Premium and Sanyuka Prime. StarTimes, the official broadcaster of AFCON 2023. This message is powered by Techno, the official sponsor of AFCON 2023. AFCON, all 52 games live only on StarTimes. StarTimes brings you Africa's biggest football tournament, AFCON 2023 live in English and Luganda commentary. Starting January 13, don't miss Mo Salah, Sadio Mane or Nana. Lead the hunt for gold as they take center stage. Renew your StarTimes subscription today and enjoy all 52 matches in HD live on Sports Premium and Sanyuka Prime. StarTimes, the official broadcaster of AFCON 2023. This message is powered by Techno, the official sponsor of AFCON 2023.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Alright, welcome back from that short commercial break. This is the Kokoliriko live show. We're just some few minutes after 8 a.m. and in a special way I want to welcome you from wherever you're watching us from. And today is also the 2nd of February, and that means that very soon children will be going back to school, and that should be an indication to you maybe of how they are going back to school. And remember, some of these children are actually the refugees, and now we are going to be talking about maybe discussions that will also really tap into that. And I do have Brother Fred from VNG International, and he will be able to tell us more in relation to the issues of refugee management, because you remember issues connected to refugee management have always been there. Now we are seeing local governments really advocating for set changes here and there, and we also have 4 of the districts from West Nile sub-region, I must say, are the ones that are actually recognized as refugee hosting districts. But the impacts of these refugees cut across in the entire West Nile sub-region, because sometimes the roads that they use are part of not the other districts that are being considered as the refugee hosting districts. But really, in a special way, without wasting any time, allow me welcome Brother Fred to first of all introduce himself, but because I believe he can actually be the best to introduce himself, not me. You're most welcome. So though this is the 2nd time now I'm hosting you. The first one was on radio,
yes,
and now it's on television. I must say it's a great pleasure having you once more.
Yeah, thank you very much, moderator and the viewer. Good morning. As said, my name is Brother Fred. I work for VNG International, the local government engagement expert based in West Nile region. As VNG, we are in 5 local governments in West Nile. That is Arua City, Koboko Municipality, Koboko District, Yumbe District, and Terego District. So it's a sample of urban and the rural districts. The 3 districts were selected because they are refugee hosting districts. Remember, Yumbe, Terego, and Koboko are refugee hosting districts in West Nile. And Arua City and Koboko Municipality are not considered as refugee hosting districts. So as we shall discuss with you this morning, there's a special interest why we chose the urban areas, because of the challenges that they go through. West Nile in Uganda is actually hosting the biggest number of refugees in Uganda, and for that we are very grateful to the locals who willingly offered land to host these refugees in our region. Because a few years ago, as a region, we were also in exile. We were in South Sudan, we were in DRC, and so just a way of paying back, because we don't know what tomorrow holds. The people of West Nile have offered land, whereas in other parts of the country, it is government that has bought land for hosting refugees. But in West Nile, it is community that gave land to host the refugees in our region. Now, as the refugees come into our country and our region, they come with both positive and negative. All right? So, first of all, when they come into our region, they come with the numbers increase. As the numbers increase in our region, because now West Nile is hosting above 1 million refugees. These are recognized refugees in the settlements. But I can tell you there are those that have not even gone to register in the settlements, which UNHCR and OPM do not consider as refugees.
Yes, I was actually coming to that point of these refugees that are not being recognized maybe in the camps. They move to these urban settings because we have seen them now. They could be moving due to various reasons. Others want to really also survive, and that they only feel they cannot maybe survive in the camps. And that is where they are moving into these areas maybe that are not being recognized as refugee hosting districts. Most especially Zombo. We have had cases of these refugees moving from wherever they are. They come to Zombo, maybe also. This is not, I believe this is not happening to Zombo alone, just like Arua City also. We have seen them moving from the camps. How are these really impacting on, that is the resource allocation of these districts or maybe these cities? Because they are not catered for.
Yeah, true. In Uganda, resources are allocated according to the population of the local government. Now, the last population and housing census of Uganda was conducted in 2014. And remember, the biggest influx from South Sudan happened from 2016. Now, this clearly tells you that this refugee population was not captured actually is not being captured in our planning figures. So that therefore means that local governments are grappling with additional population without being considered in their planning figures. But for the refugee hosting districts, like Yumbe, Obongi, Ajumani, Terego, Koboko, and the Madiokolo, where the settlements are, at least OPM and UNHCR have conducted, they have data. That means their figures have been captured for planning, especially when Dr. Deep support was being given to refugee hosting districts. Those are the figures that were being used. But now we have other local governments, like Arua City, like you've mentioned, Zombo, Pakwach, Maracha, Arua District, Koboko Municipality. These are considered as districts or local governments that do not host refugees, or the refugees that they have are not being recognized by the law. But I can tell you the challenge is big in these refugees. Uganda is operating an open door refugee policy. Open door refugee policy gives the refugees the mandate to have all the rights to move, to have employment, to get engaged in activities here and economic activities here and there. Now, because of that, refugees have not stayed in the settlement. They have moved out. They have moved from settlements. They're in urban areas. They are along the borders. If you came to Arua City, you'll find a lot of these refugees who have registered in the settlement. They have their attestation cards. They are here. They're in Arua City. The same in Koboko Municipal Council. Now, if you went to the borderlines, especially along the South Sudan-Uganda borderlines, all the way from Koboko through to Moyo up to Ajumani, a lot of these refugees have moved away from the settlements to the borderlines. Why are they there? Because the land that we've given for the refugees in the settlements are a small piece of land. 30 by 30 is a small piece of land. Some of these people back in their countries were serious farmers. But also, the food ration now has reduced in the settlements, so they feel they should go out to do agriculture, and land is only available along the borders. If you went to Busia in Koboko, that borderline, I can tell you the number is big. Recently, we did a survey as VNG, and I can tell you our findings are that the number of self-settled refugees along the borders are huge. So that means people have moved away from settlements to those areas to meet their economic needs. Because now food ratio has been cut down. People are given cash. And where do you get the money, the food to buy with this cash? So they have chosen to move out for those reasons. Others have moved to urban areas because they are back home, they were business people. So they've come with the capital, they would like to do business, and they are progressing. And this is the positive side of the refugee presence. They are now doing business and offering jobs to our people.
Sorry to cut you short. You know, sometimes people do not really understand the word refugee.
Yes.
You know, if you talk about South Sudanese right now, everybody looks at them as refugees.
Yes.
Yet some of these are not refugees. They have just moved because they wanted to move. Because the definition of a refugee is somebody who is forced to leave their countries of origin due to maybe some factors. But some of these move out of will. Maybe if you can really explain to the viewers out there the difference between maybe refugees and other people, because if you look at the maybe the South Sudanese right now, everybody looks at them as refugees.
You are right. By definition of UNHCR and all the UN bodies out there, a refugee is somebody who has been forcefully displaced by either conflict or disaster. Okay? You can be displaced by war, or you can be displaced by disaster, and your livelihood in your country of origin is under stake, so you seek refuge in a neighboring country. But when you seek refuge there, you declare yourself to UNHCR and you get registered as a refugee. Okay? When you get registered in the records of UNHCR, then you are a refugee. Now, there are people who have been displaced, who have moved into our country and have not been registered by UNHCR and OPM. They are not, in the definition, they are not refugees. But there are also those who have moved for economic reasons. They are here. So that's why when we are handling this topic, we normally talk about refugees and other migrants. Because now those who have not registered are not refugees, they are migrants. So, but the underlying factor here is all of them are enjoying services. Okay. Yeah.
Now, if you look at really some of these people who have moved, these migrants who have moved into business, we have seen South Sudanese really doing very much into the fish business, and we have seen them really trying also to change the narrative, because over the years, we knew the refugees as dependents of people maybe who want to really just rely and not want to work, which to me was not right. But now studies also indicate that these people are willing to work.
Yes.
Maybe what are some of the opportunities that really, if the local governments can be able to tap from, and this would actually really also greatly impact on the development of these local governments. If you look at the LED initiative, it actually really caters for development right from, that is the lower local governments, which to me, if I believe the refugees are part of, because we now know that it's clear that the refugees are not leaving us anytime soon, and that means that they are still with us. And how can these local governments now ensure that they tap into this opportunity of these refugees, because they are still with us, and I believe they are still going to be with us. And maybe if the local government is ensuring development, and then we need to work together, because working together, I believe, is the way to go in terms of achieving development. What are some of those opportunities maybe the local governments can tap in from these refugees?
Yeah, thank you, my brother. Just like I made the comment from the start that refugees have both positives and negatives. The negatives are the pressures at social service points and other points, but also the positives are what you are talking about. That these refugees have different skills. Back in their country, some of them were teachers, some of them were health workers, some of them were big business people, some of them were farmers. Mention it. Some of them were mechanics, pharmacists, and so on and so forth. Now, they have been displaced with all these skills into our country. Now, as they are here, this becomes an opportunity for the local governments to tap in. I know our policy does not allow us to recruit refugees into civil service. But we can do local arrangement, okay? We can do local arrangement. For example, in our schools, we pay PTA. And this PTA fund could be used to tap in, very, very skilled teachers, and we pay them local arrangement. Because schools are grappling with huge numbers of enrollment with less teachers. So if they are, good teachers who are of South Sudanese origin, and we can, they are skilled. Even this, by the way, the South Sudanese do well in science sciences. So we could use them to teach our children. That is one area. Even in health facilities. Recently, Koboko district was grappling with the absence of a pharmacist. I know they were struggling to get a pharmacist, but there was a skilled pharmacist from South Sudan. So they took advantage and said, hey, can we make use of you? And using local arrangement, the refugee is now serving the community. This is the opportunity. Now, that aside, they are strong, powerful business people who have come with the capital from South Sudan. Now, that brings me to local economic development. Now, if we can give them an opportunity to invest this money, that means as local governments, the first thing we need to do is to provide an enabling environment for these people to invest in our areas. So how do we provide enabling environment? We welcome them, talk to them, give them, if there's land, we ask them, if there are buildings around, we give them to rent, okay? So we make them invest this money in business within the local government. Now, when they invest in our areas, what are the opportunities that we have? One, these businesses paid trading license. So that is local revenue for the local government. Two, these businesses are going to employ people. So if they employ, for example, about 50 people, the local government is going to collect local service tax from these, employees. So this is also another opportunity for our people. Now, if we can have PPP arrangement, private-public partnership with these people, I can tell you the local revenues of the different local governments will increase. Now, for example, Central Division of Arua decided to open a fish market for South Sudanese. Now, how much are they collecting from that market? That's an opportunity. Now, the only challenge is now, this money that we collect from there, are we targeting to spend it well to stir up the development that we all want to see? So, these refugees have opportunities, they have come with the resources, they've come with the capital. We only need, as local governments, to provide an enabling environment for them to invest so that they can employ, they can create jobs for our people, they can,
yes, coming to the point of that is the National Population Census, which is upcoming, and now UBOS, which is the body that is mandated to ensure that people's numbers are counted, is now embarking on, that is the mapping census, that is ahead of May, because the exercise will just go around the corner. It is going to be in May this month, this year. I must say, really, over the years, challenges of resource allocation have been really a challenge, because you are doing this census just once in a decade, and the allocation has to be planned for the next 10 years. And these issues of the refugees, we do not know how and how many may be able to really come in. And now one recommendation that people are making towards the body is that if they are ready to ensure that they are going to do the counting, one challenge that they need to really ensure that they ensure is the aspect of ensuring that the refugees are counted is really fulfilled. How can maybe these local governments really ensure that they benefit from this? And then at the end of the day, that will really also really ensure that they benefit from this. How can they tap from that really in terms of ensuring that they benefit from these local governments? Because 10 years is really quite a huge number, and we're not certain of maybe how many refugees will be able to come into the country at the end of the year, and then at the end of the day, because really we do not know how many they may be able to come, and the resource allocation is done once, and the planning has to be for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I think census is going to be a very important activity for the local governments that are hosting refugees, because, like you said, the number of people living in an area will determine the resources that will be allocated by central government to the different local governments. Now, this is coming in May. The challenge is, how are the local governments preparing for this exercise in a way of mobilizing even the refugees to willingly participate? We have different customs, we have different norms. Some people don't want to be counted. Yeah? Even among the Lugbara community, culturally, you don't count your children. If somebody says, how many children do you have? You actually don't want to mention, because there are cultural things around that. So we need to prepare the minds of the refugees that they should accept to be counted, because it is important to be counted for proper planning and resource allocation. Now, census is dependent on the census night. You know, census is like a snapshot. It's like taking a photo of the country from above. Where were you by this night? Okay? So, by the census night, if there are refugees that will be in Arua City, they will be counted in Arua City. If there will be refugees in Rhino Camp settlement, they will be counted from there. So that means wherever you will have spent your census night, that is where you are going to be counted. So I'm happy to let the viewers know that in the census exercise, there's already a provision for including refugees in the counting. So refugees, non-Ugandans who are here, the migrants, the migrants who are here, I now stand here to welcome you, to accept to be counted, because the resources that shall be allocated to the different local governments where you are is going to increase by your number, so that we can reduce on the pressures at the different social services, like water points, education facilities, and health facilities. So that we reduce on these issues like stockouts that we experience now. Stockouts actually as a result of a big number of population that was not factored in the planning. So the drugs that are being sent, for example, to Arua Regional Referral Hospital is based on the number of population that was captured in 2014. Now, we have a huge number that are coming to consume services in the Regional Referral Hospital. So that explains why when you go there, many times, there's no medicine. People are complaining, are medicine being stolen? It is because the number of people now consuming the medicine has shot up. So time has come for us to now capture this population. So I'm asking my brothers and sisters from DRC, from South Sudan, from Sudan, and other countries that are living in West Nile, please accept to be counted, so that we can use these figures to negotiate with the government for proper allocation of resources to the region for improved service delivery. In most cases,
during this exercise of counting, there are people that really also sometimes under-declare because really they do not want to be counted. Then we have local governments that also want to overhype the population so that they can be able to maybe have a feeling of wanting to get the high resource allocations. And how do you think, coupled with the issues of refugees whose population is unknown, because we do not know how many next refugees that we'll be able to receive, because the information indicates that about 800 refugees are being received, that is on a monthly basis, and we do not know how many would actually really also enter the country. Because really, if you have to look at, if you have to project maybe what is next, what is going to happen in the country of our neighborhood within the next 2 years, definitely you may be able to also really think of an increase that will be able to shoot up any time from now. How do you think this is going to really affect on our upcoming census?
Well, first of all, I want to say let us avoid falsification of figures. It is unethical in statistics, it is not right, it is unbiblical, and therefore don't plan to inflate the figures for purposes of getting more allocation. That is robbing, that is stealing money. My only advice here is, let us do proper enumeration and counting of the people. So local governments, you should be all out there to ensure that every household has been reached by the enumerator. There are going to be supervisors at different levels, and therefore I think people who are going to work as supervisors should really do supervision. You know, there's being a supervisor and you are seated under a tree, you know, only to say I supervise. And so people don't do their work very well. Some people miss out. But census, because many local governments want to have big number of population, has always brought in conflict among the different local governments. This is where the border conflicts will come again. Okay, these are my people, don't count them the other side. These are my people, don't count them this side. So I'm saying Uganda is one. Let us not struggle on this. Actually, leaders of West Nile, you should start your discussions now. Areas where there are border conflicts. In the last census, there were conflicts. The Wanga here had a problem. Yeah? So we need to really have the discussions now. Even Moyo South Sudan border, there was a problem during the census. I remember leaders had to go into the physical confrontation with the leaders from South Sudan, saying, don't count these people, they're in South Sudan. While the Moyo leadership saying, these are people in Uganda. So I think the leaders should start engagement now, so that during the enumeration day, there is no conflict.
As we head into the break, we are running out of time. Yeah. Maybe the last one question I can be able to put to you before we head into the break is, the conflicts between, that is, the host communities and the refugees over time has also been caused by some of these partners that really give support to these communities. Recently in Terego, where we did go for one of the engagements, the locals actually say they have been neglected by the partners, but rather the partners contribute more and concentrate more on giving support to the refugees than themselves, and that is why the community members were now refusing to actually give land for the refugees to actually engage in, that is, active production. And really, how can we avoid such conflicts? And then maybe, what recommendation do you have for partners in terms of really ensuring that there's harmony between the host communities and the refugees themselves?
My brother, envy is obvious. The normal thinking of the population is that a refugee is a suffering person. So when a refugee arrives, the locals believe that there should be these miserable people who are looking funny, people who are looking sick, people who are emaciated, But that's not the truth. That's not the truth. From the start, yes, the community willingly gave land, and at emergency stage, so many partners pour in to come and give, receive, and at emergency stage, there's water needed, there's health services needed, food and so on. Every partner comes in, and partners are guided by the principles. So from the start, of course, yes, the policy has been that sharing of benefits is in the ratio of 30% to the locals, 70% to the refugees. Now, that means the biggest share of services are going to the refugees. Naturally, you will feel neglected, that your brother is having more meat on his plate than yours. So that is where the conflict started. And surely, in many places, this has brought challenges, and even some people who offered land have started saying, you take away your refugees because we're not benefiting. So there are discussions around that benefit sharing ratio. Already people are proposing that let's go for 50-50. And I'm glad some have started implementing this in programs. Yes, there were some programs where I've seen people are benefiting 50-50. For example, under the EUTF project that was implemented in Koboko Municipal Council, benefits were going 50-50. 50% CBOs, refugee-led, 50% CBOs, national-led, were participating in the project. When it comes to youth training, it was 50-50. If you're training 300 youth, 150 refugees, 150 Ugandans. I think it's beginning to pick up. So I will encourage the debate to continue, because now emergency is gone. We're now at the development stage. So where we're now doing real development issues, here we now need to look at 50-50 benefits. But at emergency stage, for sure, it was difficult to implement the 50-50 because the refugees came in with a lot of challenges, so they needed to be supported more than the locals. Now that we're at the development stage, I think I'm in for the 50-50 sharing, but this is still on the debate and discussion, and therefore, partners, let us continue to talk to our donors that it is now important to have the 50-50 sharing so that the landlords do not feel deprived.
All right, dear viewer, that's it in relation to that's the refugee management. Remember, we are still living with them. These are our brothers and sisters who have really been forced maybe to come from wherever they came from for different reasons, and I must say they are still with us, and I believe they're not leaving us anytime from soon. So I think it is now time for us to really work together with us in terms of ensuring development, because we have developed by all means, and the development also calls for involvement of all stakeholders, and they really become stakeholders if at all we are to achieve development. And really with that, we are still going to be running for a short commercial break, and when we return back, we are going to be discussing issues of land now, because we want to understand, because in some areas we are seeing cases where people gave out land to these refugees, and now the families are claiming back these lands, and really how is that impacting on the refugee management? And really, Brother Fred is still with us. He will be able to really tell us and how communities can avoid such issues. But for now, let's first run in for a short commercial break, and when we return back, we shall be able to pick up with the conversion from there. Thank you.
Good.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
AFCON, all 52 games live only on StarTimes. StarTimes brings you Africa's biggest football tournament, AFCON 2023 live in English and Luganda commentary. Starting January 13th, don't miss Mo Salah, Sadio Mane or Nana. Lead the hunt for gold as they take center stage. Renew your StarTimes subscription today and enjoy all 52 matches in HD live on Sports Premium and Sanyuka Prime. StarTimes, the official broadcaster of AFCON 2023. This message is powered by Techno, the official sponsor of AFCON 2023.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, right, welcome back from that short commercial break. In case you are just joining us right now, this is the Kokoliriko live show on West Nile TV. If at all this is your first time for watching television, I must say you're most welcome. This is the #1 television West Nile, and it is here to actually enlighten the region. And we are still continuing with discussion in relation to that refugee management, because we do understand that these refugees are with us and they are really within our societies, and definitely they also coming with their impacting repercussions, of which some may be positive and others may be negative. But regardless, we really have to ensure that we live together with them, and peaceful coexistence is the way to go. So I think we are discussing these issues for the betterment of maybe how we can be able to live with them. And this is actually a recommendation maybe to the local governments, of maybe how they can also be able to tap into some of the opportunities that these refugees come with. And then at the end of the day, we have to ensure that there's development, because for West Nile to develop, and really I know so many advocacies are already in place to see to it that West Nile develops. So West Nile has to develop together with these refugees, because we have quite a number of them, both from that is the neighboring countries of the Democratic Republic of Congo and South Sudan as well. So we have to ensure that we live with them. But now, before we head into the discussion, we are discussing a lot of issues ranging on the opportunities and then the negative repercussions. Now I'm coming back to the issues of land. Really, we have scenarios of where some districts offered land, but now the relatives of the lands are now being demanded. And now that is why sometimes also the partners not really want to come and put up these investments, because they ask for the land titles, because they're not sure of where they're going to invest this, in these refugees. How is this really impacting on the refugee management in the various local governments? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I want to say the naked fact is land is constant. Land does not increase. So landlords gave land willingly to host these refugees, and the number of refugees is increasing every day. That therefore means the piece of land that was initially allocated to one refugee family may have to be subdivided, because the numbers are increasing every day. Now, this actually means that local governments should have continued to mobilize more land for the refugees to settle. Now, the question of people now beginning to question, is it necessary? Do we still need to give land? Can we take back our land? Is coming because of the issues we discussed earlier of benefits from the refugee presence. So you find now children of the landlords are now saying, no, we need part of our land back, or we need to be compensated for this land. We need, take away your refugees, and so on and so forth. But I want to start by saying, my brothers and sisters, these refugees are our own brothers and sisters. From the start, I said, a few years ago, we were in DRC, we were in South Sudan. They kept us. Now, it is their turn to be catered for. I therefore want to say, in the spirit of Pan-Africanism, let us keep our brothers and sisters safe. So, land being a big factor of production, the refugees actually need this land. So I will encourage local governments to continue mobilizing from the different landlords who are willing to offer land. And one of the opportunities that we did not discuss earlier on, which is related to land, is the policy that has shifted from food to cash. Refugees are now being given cash. Now, where do they buy food from? They buy food from within the markets. So just say, okay, if refugees are given, if each refugee is given 30,000, and we have 1,000, we have 1 million refugees, multiply 30 by 1 million, this money is sinking here in the region. So the challenge is, what are we supplying to these refugees as a region? So this is a big opportunity. The market is there, but we are not producing. As a result, we are now ferrying cassava from all the way Tanzania to these refugee settlements. We are ferrying tomatoes from other regions to these refugee settlements. So it's a big challenge for all of us. So I'm now encouraging our people to use their land, the available land that they have, to get involved in agricultural production. Let us increase agricultural production. Let us improve on value addition. Once you grow maize, turn it to posho and sell to the refugees. So this is a big opportunity that we need to take up. So land being a big factor of production, we must put the land to use. There are people who have big chunks of land in the region, but they're not using it. They just want to see, this is my land. Don't encroach, but they're not putting it to use. Now, if you don't have capacity to develop, to use this land, why don't you enter into agreement with the refugee population who are willing to dig? You can enter into agreement, use this land for this period, probably you pay for me this. They are willing to do. Like I told you, people have moved from the settlements to Busia, to the borderlines of Moyo, to go and produce food. If you went to Yumbe, those sub-counties along the border, they have so many of these refugees who have moved from settlement to those areas to go and dig. So land is a big factor. Now, I'm still saying families who have willingly given land for hosting these refugees should not demand for the refugees to leave the land, but rather see how they can work in partnership with the refugees to produce together and probably make money and change their lives.
Okay, as we are running out of time, remember at 9 p.m. that's when we are going to be having the news bulletin in Lubarati, and that is Mukolia, Lawrence, and the rest of the team, and that is for the Lubara speaking. This is where you also need to be part of the Ewalaza news bulletin, and really we have to also leave some of the remaining minutes for them to prepare, and that really brings me to the point. You are talking to the landlords, and now maybe what other message finally do you have for all the stakeholders, because I believe the issue of refugee management calls for collective responsibility. It lies into our hands as all, and where all of us are partners. Maybe what message do you have for the rest of the stakeholders as we summarize the discussion? Thank you.
Thank you. I have a message for the government of Uganda. The refugee policy now only recognizes urban refugees in Kampala. But the truth of the matter is we now have urban refugees in Arua City, in Koboko municipality, and other towns within the region. So this policy needs to be revisited and see how we can actually incorporate these refugees who have moved from settlement to these urban areas, because the local governments are really grappling with these urban refugees. And so we need to start engaging on this area, and also to partners who are providing services to the refugees. Yes, the study that we did as VNG reveals that a big number of refugees who have registration cards, numbers from the refugee settlement have moved here. So I'm saying, hey, my brothers and sisters, your son or daughter from your compound is now playing on my compound. So would you like to send something little so that they also eat with my children here? What am I saying? When partners are rushing to offer services in the settlement, they should remember that a big number of those people, target population, are here in the urban areas. So part of their investment should also be here in the urban areas to support the local governments that are grappling with these refugees. Now, to the local governments, let us have open hand. Let us work on integration of refugees in all our programming, because they are here, they are not about to leave. They must be part of our discussions. Let's involve them from planning to implementation to monitoring and evaluation. Let us share, let us involve them. Inclusion is the way to go, because if we don't include them in our programming, we're going to offer services that are not in their interest. So let us include them. Now, to the community, let's look at these refugees as an opportunity. Take advantage of them. I said they have capital, they are going to invest here, let us work with them. I said they have skills, let us employ them on local arrangements, contract arrangements. I said they are offering market, let us produce and sell to these people. So this the whole range, all stakeholders from community up to government have something to do in refugee management, and therefore, because the wars in our neighboring countries are not about to end, we need to work on programs that are sustainable enough to promote coexistence and social harmony within the community, the refugees and host communities. Now, to the refugee and to the refugee community, please cooperate with the locals. Let us not have those conflicts. I'm glad to report that the tensions between the different tribes in South Sudan that used to be manifested here is beginning to reduce. I want to thank the Shura, South Sudanese Refugee Association, for able working in this area, where we're now saying, no, let us not bring our conflict from South Sudan to Uganda. And this has helped a lot. And I think we now need to work again with the Congolese Refugee Association to strengthen their association, so that if there are issues concerning the Congolese community, we are able to also tackle, just like we do with South Sudanese Refugee Association. So thumbs up to everybody. Refugees are here to stay. Let us work together and achieve the social cohesion for sustainable development in West Nile.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Badafred. And Mr. Badafred is a local government engagement specialist with VNG International. In a special way, I want to thank you so much for coming to talk to the viewers also about issues of refugees, because sometimes people do not really understand who the refugees are, and really for also explaining to the masses of who these refugees are and why they are here. That is really quite important. And dear viewer, I also want to thank you for really being part of the show right from the time we began until this time. We are coming to a closer of today's discussion, and today I've really been Farish Majid, and I've been together with Badafred, and really we did have discussions that is in relation to refugee management. And for those of you who shared your comments, I really very much appreciate, and really thank you so much for also sharing with us. And really to that effect, we come to the end of today's discussion as we pave way for the other team to also really come through and let you know of what is happening in the world of news. But for now, it's a great pleasure as we step out of the show. Thank you.
Thank you. Good.